right to work is wrong for workers and wrong for America. Now, having said all this, why aren't I 50 points ahead, you might ask? Well, the choice for working families has never been clearer. I need your help to get Donald Trump's record out to everybody. Nobody should be fooled.
I got to tell you, that we're rejoined by Michael Savage, of course, the host of the Savage Nation on radio all across this great country of ours every day, and New York Times best-selling author. He's followed up Government Zero with a wonderful, very important new book, Scorched Earth, Restoring the Country After Obama. Michael, have you seen that video that she did to a labor group where she looked awful. She was shouting. I mean, it looked like they pulled someone off the street and said, here, read this on camera, and they never did it before.
Well, look, everyone knows who's watching her that she has neurological problems. You have to have a little compassion for her. She's an elderly woman. She's sick. She shouldn't be running for the office, but she's a power-mad woman, as we well know, and there's so much at stake that she'll run until the worst possibility could occur. There's a lot of people saying she's not making it to the finish line. She's like an old nag on a racetrack who people are saying cannot complete the last few laps of that track. Donald, on the other hand, from a lifetime of meatloaf and mayonnaise, apparently is getting stronger as he goes on. I remember when he was on my show a year or two ago, I said, where do you get the stamina from? He said, my mother and father. Because I know his diet is terrible. I mean, you want to talk about cholesterol. He loves meatloaf and mashed potatoes. Typical old-line American diet. But the fact is, he's a strong man. They're trying to, of course, deflect the scandals around her. The Clinton Foundation slush fund, the foreign donations, the missing emails. God knows the scandals that surround her. And, of course, the vermin in the media are saying turn it on him. They can't turn it on him. The more they try to, the more ludicrous she looks and the better he looks. You know he's up in almost every poll. He's liable to beat her, Steve. The question is, will they steal the election with electronic voting, number one, absentee ballots, number two? What's with the foreign company who counts our votes? Where'd that come from? I've been reporting on that for a long time, not only with Scorched Earth, I reported on it in Government Zero.
Yep.
Who turned our election ballot counting over to a company in Spain? Who owns this company? How does this happen? How have we lost our sovereignty in 8 years under this gangster criminal in the White House? And by the way, here's something fun for you, Steve. The New York Times made a big mistake. When this comes out in their book review, notice what it says, Scorched Earth. I've got it in advance, right? But
yep.
let me read the subtext.
Yeah, please, please.
By Michael Savage. The radio host discusses what will happen after the administration of President Malbama. I named the Malbama a few years ago. It's been picked up widely. Why they would pick that up, of all things, is amazing. Because I never called him Malbama on the cover. The cover says Restoring the Country After Obama.
Right.
They changed it to what I said, President Malbama. Because he is like President Mao, like Chairman Mao, who had the great leap forward that led to 60 million deaths of fellow Chinese under his brutal communist dictatorship. You say, well, you're making a big leap here. How do you go from this nice constitutional scholar from Chicago to this mass murderer Malbama? Well, you know, even dwarfs started small. Great oaks from little acorns grow. I will remind everyone in this audience, this is no joke. Words have effect. When Hillary goes before the Congressional Black Caucus, which is offensive, by the way, just the statement, what do you mean Black Caucus, Hispanic Caucus? Where'd this come from, all of these anti-American fragmented groups? So nevertheless, she goes before the so-called Congressional Black Caucus last weekend, and she says, I'm going to speak to white people directly about the violence in America. Yep. Remember that speech?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
A few days later, black mobs burned Charlotte half to the ground, beat people up in the street who are white. She's setting off a race war just like him. But let me get back to Mao Zedong. I spend the whole chapter on Mao Zedong, but I spend the big chapter on what happened in Cambodia under a nice constitutional legal scholar named Pol Pot. You see, he was just like Obama, a mild-mannered, nice man who himself would not commit violence. He went to Paris. He studied Marxism. I'm talking about Pol Pot. He comes back to Cambodia, and he institutes the Marxist plans that he read in Paris in a textbook. He created a group of young thugs called the Khmer Rouge.
Yep.
People remember them. 12, 13-year-old thugs like Black Lives Matter. He called them the Khmer Rouge as young soldiers. He sent them out in the street. They beat up middle-class Cambodians. Anyone who wore glasses was considered a counter-revolutionary. It led to the death of 3 million Cambodians. Pol Pot didn't intend that originally, did he? All he wanted was fairness. All he wanted was equality in Cambodia. Once you loose this thuggish mentality on the streets, anything can happen. And Steve, we may be in the infancy of this, but nevertheless, this is a terrible road that Obama has taken us down. Hillary will make it much worse. That's what I'm trying to say. America has a clear choice. America or chaos. Trump or chaos. And Hillary represents not only more of Obama, but worse than Obama. She wants to bring in 550% more Muslim refugees. Did you notice that after these riots, we've all forgotten about the terror attacks in New York City last week, Steve?
Yeah, good point.
Suddenly the Muslim terror is gone. Isn't it rather convenient? Am I the only one to notice that only a few days after the Muslim terror attacks in Manhattan, in Minneapolis, where a Somali Muslim went and stabbed people, 8 of them, in a mall, suddenly it's off the pages, and all we see now are the riots in wherever they are now, the riot du jour, whatever it's over today. I guess they needed a new pair of sneakers or new clothing. This is an outrage, and it's time for America to recognize it's not happening by accident. These riots are organized. These riots are paid for. The biggest supporter of them is George Soros, who gave Black Thugs Matter $70 million, Steve. This has to stop. There has to be consequences. There will be no consequences under Obama. There'll be no consequences under Hillary, other they will get worse. And I know Trump is a flawed candidate. We know he has this, is that. And he's not a pure conservative on social. We know all of that.
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Okay? It doesn't matter because he's the only chance we have right now to affect a change in outcome. With her, it's over.
Oh,
you know, talk radio won't exist if she becomes president.
Michael, I have been saying for a long time, I know you've certainly spoken about it too, that it's the Second Amendment everybody focuses on when we talk about a Hillary Supreme Court, and yes, that's a concern, a big concern, but people don't understand the First Amendment will be eviscerated to an extent because we'll have hate speech laws like they have in Europe, like they have in Canada, and you're absolutely right. Your shows, my shows, they will not be able to be as they are in any way, shape, or form with a Hillary Supreme Court.
Well, the liberals will share that because they'll say we don't want hate speech.
Right.
We only want our speech. And our speech isn't hateful. It's just about justice. We know how communism works, Steve. We're fighting for the soul and survival of freedom in this country. Make no mistake about it. The old failing Harridan will destroy every vestige of freedom left in this nation. Right. And she, my friends, and I think it's God's hand, by the way, operating right now with the eyes, when she fell going in the, remember in New York 2 weeks ago?
Oh, my God. How come?
Of course, she went down
9/11,
She went down like a slab of meat. The shoe fell off her foot.
It was awful. Let me ask you something, Michael, in the 2 minutes we have left. The federal complaint, the indictment against the bombing suspect here in New York does not reference ISIS even once. This got great play on Fox News last night, and I think it deserves great play. They're purposely whitewashing ISIS, even though he had all kinds of books and paraphernalia and contacts and referenced them. Why? Why?
Why? Because Obama is probably very sympathetic towards the Muslim Brotherhood, if not a member of the Muslim Brotherhood. The Muslim Brotherhood has infiltrated the FBI, DHS. This is very risky for me to say, but it's time for everyone to speak up or we're all dead. We know the FBI has been under Obama. They're great field agents, but the people who are running the organization never say Islamic terrorism. DHS is run by a clown, a former Wall Street lawyer who has failed us on every level. Every level. Not only what happened in New York, what about all the other Muslim terror attacks? And he's still in power? Why? Who is Jay Johnson? Why is he running DHS? Why? To make sure that we don't see what's really going on. we're in very dangerous straits here. And if we think we're out of the water come Trump's win, if he wins, we're wrong.
Michael?
Steve, I want to send out a chilling memo to everyone out there. Obama is practicing a scorched earth policy in his last months of his despotic regime.
Yep.
And I warned America in the last months of Bush. It was in the September of that year that I said, watch out for what Bush does in his last months. He's a fiscal socialist. We then had the housing collapse, remember?
Right, we got 20 seconds, 10 seconds, Michael. I know
we're going to have another event and maybe a big catastrophic event under President Obama. Read all about it in Scorched Earth.
You got it.
Tell your friends
Michael,
we're down to the wire.
Thank you, sir.
Steve.
Say hello to Teddy. Take care. We're coming back, folks. Don't go away.